Cornelius with you here, bringing you Eden Zero manga review, chapter 28, titled New Companions. Now, we have a lot of great things to talk about in this chapter. This chapter was more of an epilogue of what happened last chapter with the Colonel Page eating guiltless and everybody escaping safely. But we got a lot of good new information as well. It begins with us being introduced to Sister Ivory again. Or Irene, depending on which translation you're reading. But I like Ivy better, so I'm going to go with that. And basically she's on the ship now. And we find out that Sister Hope and Ivory are, as we really know, we're looking for 4 sisters. We got 2 already. We got Hope and Ivory. But we find out the name of the other 2. Valkyrie and Hermit. And where they're all discussing, about where to go next to find them, it was brought up that Homura has the same sword as Valkyrie. And she explained the reason why she knew about y'all, the Eden Zero ship and stuff, and knew about Shiki, because her teacher, her master, the one who raised her and taught her how to fight and gave her that sword, is Valkyrie. So it's nice to see that connection. I had a feeling that she was connected to Shiki some type of way, but it wasn't more like blood related, it was more like student related. Because, Shiki's grandfather, the Demon King, is the master of Valkyrie, and Valkyrie's student is Homura. So, them being, together and working as underlings for the Demon King, technically make her and Shiki friends, and even Shiki himself brought that up. I can't fight you now because you're a friend of a friend. That makes you my friend. And she blushed, and she was like, well, I didn't want to fight you now. And she tried to switch up her story, saying, from going from I want to fight you, now she's like, well, I don't mean I don't want to fight you now, I don't hate you or anything like that. And it was just a funny cute moment between them. We also had another cute moment between Happy and Rebecca and Shiki, because Rebecca, now that she's safe and sound, she started crying about all the tortures that she went through, being naked, being shocked and humiliated and all that stuff, and technically being a slave. And it all came to her at once when she realized how damaged her life would have been if she would have stood there, and she started to cry. Then Happy started to cry looking at her, and then Shiki started seeing them cry, and he started thinking about losing his friends. That made him cry. And there was just an emotional, sad moment between them, but it was also kind of funny. Then you have Wise telling Shiki, stop crying, or you're going to make me cry. And then Shiki looked at him and started crying more. And it was hilarious. But as though that passes on and we got to the conversation of the sisters, again, we found out Homura is, is the student of Sister Valkyrie, who is one of the ones that they're trying to find next, and Hermit. So, now that we know if Sister Valkyrie is the student, the teacher of Homura, I doubt if she's the next one we find. We probably find her last. We probably find Hermit, the third one. Then we probably find her last, the Valkyrie. But it's nice to know we got their names now of the sisters and the connection between them, and it also brings up the question: is there other students? Did Hermit and Valkyrie have other students? I mean, Valkyrie, we know this is her student, but does she have other students? And if Valkyrie has students, how about Hermit? What is she doing? Does she have sisters? Maybe she doesn't have students. I mean, maybe she has children. Who knows? I mean, I'm not sure if these robots can produce, but, I mean, they can create other robots, so that's technically their version of producing. So, it was interesting to bring that up. But now, what I really want to bring up is the later end of the chapter. We got to see the space guys again. There's 3, the guy with the white hair, the guy with the blonde hair, the glasses, and the big bulky dude from the Space Patrol that we saw earlier when, in the later chapters, in earlier chapters when Shiki was fighting the fake Ezra. Well, Irene, Scarlet, I should say. If y'all remember, in that chapter, there was 3 space pirates, space cops, that came and was, telling us about power levels. Well, we saw these guys again. I believe their name is Jean, Cougar, and Joe. I could be saying it wrong, but we seen them again, and they talking about planet Gillis, how 1,200 years was absorbed from it thanks to the catastrophe page. and they were trying to figure out the amount of lives that was lost. And the big bulky dude was like, who cares what life was lost? They were all criminals anyway. It was a criminal planet. And the guy with the white hair who looks like Jalal from Fairy Tail, his reply was something shocking. I thought he was a bad guy, but what he replied was really shocking because he said, a life is a life, and it's sad when it's lost. So, and I don't see a bad guy saying that, so he's either a good guy or a vigilante. So, but as this discussion was passing by, we were introduced to a new character from the police force. Colonel Jagger. And that's basically the superiors these guys answer to. And they're talking about Gillis and stuff and this tragedy that befell them and everything that happened. And the sad, events of, people being lost. But then Colonel Jagger bring up a situation that intrigued me a lot. Because this has been things I'm going to most likely kick off in the real story. We found out that Tenor Page, the catastrophe that ate Gillis was created because of a warlord. They have something in this universe called the 6 Galactic Warlords. And the one who made that prison planet, that criminal planet, which had no laws and police couldn't do nothing about it, was the warlord named Draken Joe. And he's an alchemist mage. Yeah, that's how they pronounce it, an alchemist mage. And that was how, we got to see his picture. And that was like the last panel of the page. And I saw this and I'm like, oh snap. They have warlords in here. Galactic warlords. So when I hear that, I started thinking of One Piece. In One Piece we got the Yonko, which is the 4 warlords. And then we have the 7 warlords that are with the government. So seeing these 6 guys and knowing that they are the 6 warlords and they're evil and they oppose the police officers is interesting to see in the future what's going to happen. Because now that we know these 6 warlords exist and we see Draken Joe, eventually down the line, Shiki's gonna have to eventually fight one of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Sister Valkyrie probably ditched her student to probably join one of these guys. Or maybe Hermit's over there as well. Or both of them. Who knows? But I have a feeling that's how the story's going to turn up later on. That Shiki's going to most likely have to fight this guy specifically since they brought him up and showed us his pictures to us. Most likely Shiki's going to have to cross paths with this guy. And if he's a warlord, a galactic warlord like they say, his power level should be high. Again, we only got power level named once. When Shiki was in that one rocket mode and he was fighting that fake Ezra's character, we were told by one of the police cops that his power level was over 100,000 ether. So we don't know if that's high or low or mid. We don't know the official ranking yet of ether. We haven't got like a power scaling yet for it. And hopefully Hero does it right. I mean, in Fairy Tail we had a ranking system. It went from, I'm not mistaken, from E or F to A. Then we had S, then we had double S and triple S. So, but that was ranking by titles, not really a power scale by numbers. It was still power scaling, but by ranks, which made it easier and more better to, flow out the story. But I wonder if this time Heroes Mashima is going to switch up the pain game, and instead of having everyone has different ranks, they're going to have actually numbers, like how in Dragon Ball Z and Deadly Seven Sins, you can see like the power scaling numbers and their stats. I wonder if he's going to do that now, but in a fantasy type version for this. Very intriguing stuff. And I could keep bubbling about this all day and rambling, but I don't want to make this video too long. But this was a very interesting chapter. If you have not read it, I advise you to go read it. If you're really ready, go read it again. Great chapters, 5 stars, 10 out of 10. I really love this chapter. There was no fighting. It was just straight up dialogue and talking. But the way the story is moving, it's moving at a really good pace. Not too slow, not too fast. And we're getting some introductions to some new characters. And I can't wait to see Shiki and his friends throw down. And I also forgot to mention that Wise is now officially part of the crew as well, with Homura, so that's awesome. And that fat robot that we saw that was working with the other sister, the evil one, she actually stole that from Sister Irene, So she stole that robot from Sister Irene, but Irene, you know, got it back, and she reconverted the robot back to how it usually is, which is a cheerful fat guy that likes to play around. And it's funny because they have a joke. He has like a black button on his like belly button with a sign on top that says "Don't press this," and they have a gag where he keeps trying to press it, but the sister keeps screaming at him. So I'm not sure what happens when he presses that button. Maybe he blows up or whatever. But it was nice to see, you know, all this together and all. But this was a great chapter. Again, can't stress it enough. But like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow me on my Twitter. The link will be down below. Don't forget to share with your family and friends, and hit that notification bell to get notified whenever I post or upload. And I'll catch you on the next one, and have a good one, guys. Peace.